What is up, you guys? It's your favorite cutie Mel back again on my channel to give you guys yet another video, and this video is going to be about being a woman who is dealing with men in this life in any capacity. If you're trying to commit to them for marriage, partnership, as far as raising a child and those things. And I just have been taking in a lot of stories lately that have been coming across my timeline, and I've just found it so interesting because I think that we all have like an idea of what marriage is. I think we all have an idea of what motherhood is, and we have this image of what it is, about what we've been told, about what we've seen, what we've been allowed to see from our parents, from our family, from people who have had these experiences. But I think until you truly have these experiences, sometimes you don't really know what's on the other side of it. And I know that every single situation is going to be different because none of us have the same partners, none of us have the exact same experiences, but I am seeing some themes across these videos, whether it's about marriage, whether it's about raising children, and I have some thoughts about it that I want to share. So one of the things that I have been going back and forth with myself about is like, do I want to have other children in this life? I have one child, I have a son, he is 11 years old, and I am leaning towards no, because I think that no matter what happens, whether I get married, whether I am with someone who appears to be a steady, supportive partner, prior to having children, I just don't see myself doing it because it's such a gamble. It's such a gamble. And I think that when you're considering having children at all, you should really consider who you are as a person. And I think a lot of us have children before we really know ourselves, and that can put you in a trick bag. I've listened to stories about women who have children but secretly wish that they hadn't had children, because the reality of what it is to be a mother, whether you have a partner or not, it's a lot. Because in our society, in most societies, pretty much in all of them, women are the primary caretakers, and we're expected to do the majority of the raising of the children. And in most cases, women are not the ones who get to just go off and live their lives. It's usually the other way around. And here's some things that I would want to share with anybody who's considering having children but you haven't had any yet. Really take into account, do you really love your freedom? And how would you feel if you had a child or you had any obligation that kept you from being able to live your life fully? And if you think that that will make you miserable, I feel like you shouldn't have kids. If you are very selfish, and there's nothing wrong with being selfish. If you know that you're very selfish, very self-centered, and you like to do things on your time, the way that you want to do them. If you're someone who enjoys and prioritizes leisurely time, I suggest that you do not have children, because if you do, those things are going to be out of your control. Even if you have the best partner, based upon the stories that I've heard from people on the internet and just in life, you don't know how someone is going to react to having a child until you actually have a child with them. And a lot of men can change after you have children. They can decide that it's too much for them, decide that they don't really want to do that much raising of the child, decide that they rather just financially support if you're lucky, because some men don't support their children at all. They just go off and do whatever. They go live their lives and, pop in and out. Some men just get ghost altogether. And I think that this applies whether you're a single mom and you weren't married and you have kids, or if you get married and you have kids. Just because you're married and you have a child with someone does not mean that they're going to be a great father. Doesn't mean they're going to be an active father. You can have a father in the house all day long and they could go to work and simply not interact with their children. They don't do anything to help you with the children. They expect you to do everything, even if you are having a job of your own to go to. And honestly, it just puts a lot of work on your plate. And even though I do think that it gets easier as your child becomes more independent, it doesn't mean that it necessarily stops. So it's an ongoing thing forever. Because as your child gets older, if they want to do something extracurricular, most likely you're going to be the one who's have to pick them up. And all this varies because there are men who do help. But usually the story is, even the best men who do help, usually they're still not doing as much as the women. And that's just the truth of the matter. They're usually doing some things to help supplement, and I'm not having financial support does help, but ultimately on the day-to-day, just what it takes to be a nurturer to another human being who needs your attention, who needs you to be there, who needs a ride to school, who needs a ride to be picked up, who needs to be taken to whatever practice, who needs this, who needs food, who needs everything. To have someone else who needs you, it's a huge responsibility, and it's not to be taken lightly. So if you do choose to have a child, whether you're married or not, I suggest that you need to want that child, and you need to think about what it would be like if you have to do it on your own, and if you feel like it's still worth it and you would still want to have a child, even if you have to take care of that child by yourself, then by all means, embark on that journey. Motherhood is great. It is rewarding. It's very beautiful. I think about all the time, like my son, and how much I'm grateful that I have a son, and how him being in my life and just seeing him grow up turn into this whole other person, his own person, and just seeing him and being so proud of who he's becoming is very rewarding. But that doesn't take away from it being very difficult at times. Doesn't mean that I don't get drained. Having to be the only one to pick up and drop off, and sometimes I have help with that, and I've had a lot of help just in general in life, so I can complain, but I won't complain, because I know there's some people who have no help from the family. And here's another thing. This is another thing I want to tell you guys. If you're considering having children, I suggest that before you even have a child, even if you're married, you need to have a conversation with the people who you think will be your support system. So that means his family. If you don't have a strong relationship with his family or your family, I don't know if it's the best time to have kids, or if that's the person to have kids with. I think that you should, if you're married, hypothetically, if I was getting married to someone and I was considering having a child again, I would have a conversation prior to getting pregnant with their parents to understand what it is to them to be grandparents. Like, what kind of support would there be for me as a mom? Would there be support at all? I've seen videos that have popped up on my timeline about certain grandparents not wanting to be a primary help for women. They just want to be able to get their grandkids when they want to. There are some grandparents who want to have their grandkids all the time. Figure out what your situation will be on both sides, both on your side of the family and on the other side of the family, so you can kind of gauge, am I going to have support? If I get super tired and I'm worn out to the bone, is there someone who will come and help me? Is there anyone who will help take care of my child? If I have something to do for myself, if I need to take a trip away, if I want to do something for any reason, am I going to have the help that I need? Childcare is not cheap. Most people cannot afford it because it's usually over $300 a week, and that's on the low end. So if you are not rolling in the dough and you are not just financially able to do that on a consistent basis, I don't know, that's something to think about before you even get pregnant, okay? Before you give birth, whatever, if you're on the fence about it, think about all of those things, because all of those things are very important, and it's especially hard when the kids are young. So shout out to all the moms out there who are doing it, making it happen, and finding ways to still have an enjoyable life that is not just surrounding their children or their family, but also have things that just only have to do with them, who are pursuing passions, who are living their best lives, because there's a lot of people who are really suffering. And I think it's very taboo for women, for people to know and hear that women really speaking up, which is why usually we find these stories on Reddit where people don't have to share their identities. But I'm sure there's plenty of women who have those days where they're like, I wish I didn't have kids, because it's a lot, and a lot of the time the dads can get gone and be doing whatever they want to do and only tap in when they want to, and then the mom is, forever pretty much a servant to everyone, trying to keep her head above water, because usually the mom is not the one to abandon the children and is not even able to, even if they wanted to. So that's just the reality of that. I'm going to continue this series and continue to talk, because I see that it's almost 10 minutes, but I do want to lightly touch on marriage as well. I am seeing that marriage is not always what it's cracked up to be. I know that it really depends on the person that you are married to, but just seeing some of the things that these women are going through, whether it's just like mental abuse, whether it's being deceived, whether it's like, you know, women being cheated on. There's just so many stories, and I think that this could happen to anybody. I think that in the nature of being in a relationship in general, no matter what title it is, you just never know what is going to happen in that relationship. And I think that in general, what it's helped me to find peace with is, I think I've been wondering, I think I went back and forth. There was a time where I was really hardcore, like, yeah, actually I do want to get married. But I think now I'm leaning more to the indifference. I think that if the opportunity came for me to get married and there was someone that I felt like was worthy of such a commitment, and someone who is going to be on the same page about like what I want as far as not wanting kids, hopefully that person will already have kids, so they're not looking at me to have any, because I made up my mind that I don't want to have any more children. But if the opportunity came to where I had the opportunity to get married and I felt like the partner would be adding value to my life and it was worth it just for the experience, I am kind of the just for the experience kind of person, just to see what it would be like, I think I might take the chance and just have the experience, knowing that at the very least, if I'm not having children, I can always exit the relationship. And even though no one wants to have a divorce, I just think that I would just strongly know that that was an option. And I would just go into it knowing that that's an option and hoping for the best. But I think that it's all a gamble. It's all a gamble. So the thing that is deceptive is, I think that women are just taught and think that there's a safe route to do anything. To do any of this, to be a mom. I think a lot of us are ashamed, especially if you were a single mom like me. You're shamed in a way because society looks at you a certain kind of way if you have a child without being married. But let me just tell you that there's no safe way to do this. There's no right way to do this either. I think that's what really it comes down to. There's no right way to do this because, one, you could get married, you could do everything the right way. You could get married, your partner can die, your partner can abandon you, your child and your family. Your partner can simply check out and only provide for you financially. And, you know, while that's still good, it's just like, it's not everything. You need physical help around the house, around, you know, you can really become an indentured servant to your family, your kids, your husband. Your husband can end up being a man-child and you're end up taking care of him just like you're taking care of children. There's a lot of men who will leave you if you get sick. There's a lot of men who don't really mean till death do us part. And I feel like what's more important is just being aware of the nature of men before you even engage in such commitments, because then you'll be less disappointed if things do not turn out how you think that they will. I hope this doesn't sound negative, but I think it's just being realistic, because after hearing so many of these stories, I'm just like, you know what? It's all a gamble on both sides, you know, for either or. There's people who get burned on either side. You could be male, female, doesn't matter. It could be same sex. It could be non-binary, whatever, doesn't matter. When you are engaging in strong commitments with another human being, there's always a chance that it's not going to go how you think. So that's why I would suggest that don't have children if you don't want to. Don't do it for your husband just because he wants a kid and you don't. There's plenty of stories where these men will beg you to have their children and then they will abandon you because it's too much. I listened to a Reddit story where this woman was talking about how she was very clear with a guy that she did not want to have kids, but in the end, he told her, you know, that he really wants to have kids. They had an arrangement. She had talked to him and basically said, I'm only okay with having your child if you're going to basically step up and be the default parent, which means that he's going to do most of the parenting. He's going to do most of the things when it comes to the kid. Kid gets here. He couldn't handle it. And guess what he did? He checked out. Now, this woman is stuck with a child, if not two. I think she had 2 children. She's stuck with 2 children that she knew in her heart that she did not want to begin with. And this is why you don't have kids for anybody else but yourself. If you want to have kids, do it because you want to have kids, and do it because you know that whether that person is going to be there for you or not, that you're going to enjoy and do your best to raise those children because it's what you want for yourself and for your life. If it's not for you, if without that person, if you can't see yourself as a single parent without that person, still being happy about your choice, do not do it. Don't do it to yourself, because you cannot trust anybody to stick around for that lifelong commitment, and you just don't know what's going to happen. It's always going to be a gamble. So these are just things that have been on my mind. And I wanted to share that because there might be someone who needs to hear that. Just look up at these Reddit stories about women who were child free, or in marriages that went south, and all the things that men can try to do in marriages that are just manipulative, get the women in these vulnerable places and try to trap them. I watch all kinds of videos about people being trapped. I myself, he tried to trap me. I'm untrappable, because no. But I still have my child, but it's just like, no, you cannot trap me. That's not going to make me stay with anybody, because luckily for me, I have always had the blessing of having the protection of having family and support. That has been my saving grace my whole life, but every woman doesn't have that. So some people can really get into these situations where these men trap you and purposely try to get you pregnant, and then when you're all vulnerable and you don't have support, you are living a miserable life that you never saw yourself wanting, having to give up for your hopes and your dreams and stuff to raise children that you never truly wanted, or you weren't ready for and weren't prepared for. And men can take advantage of that and live their best lives in the free labor that comes with you deciding to be a good person and take care of the children that you brought into this world. And then before you know it, you're just in a place that you never planned for, and I'm just not okay with that. And that's why I decided I'm not having any more kids, because I'm not okay with the gamble. And I've decided in my heart, I know what kind of person I am. I like to be free. I like to do things on my own. My son is almost to the age where he's becoming more and more independent. So within the next 10 years, my son is going to be doing his thing. And I mean, I don't know what that means exactly, but he's going to be old enough to at least take care of himself. I wouldn't care if my son chose to stay with me longer than 18 or whatever while he got his stuff together. That doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I'm still going to be able to do what I want to do. So I value my freedom. I value freedom in general. I'm a very creative person. I love to travel. I'm thankful that I had my son when I did, because I'm still going to be very young, even when he's out doing his own thing. And my son is already so independent now. And because I have the help that I have, it doesn't slow me down much. Some days I do wish that I had more support. I wish that I had an active co-parent to come in and do the things that they should be doing, like helping him get to school and to activities and stuff like that. But honestly, I have it really good. And I don't think that I have suffered much as a result of being a mom, luckily. But anyway, that's the end of this video. If you like this topic and you're interested in more stuff like this, and you guys are more interested in hearing my stories about being a mom, hearing my takes on marriage, relationships, and all that stuff, definitely leave me a comment down below, because I'll be happy to do it. And I think a lot of these things I keep to myself, because I don't know, I guess I've been so in it that I haven't had time to really think about what my experience is as a woman and what it is as a mom. I mean, I have those moments where I briefly think about it, but when you're a mom, you're so in it, and it's so every day that it's just like, you just keep going. That's it. You just keep going, just keep swimming, like Nemo, okay? Like Nemo and Dory. Just keep swimming, and your child gets older, more independent. And I don't know, before I end this video, I just want to say shout out to my very first boyfriend's grandma. She always told me, don't have more than one kid, because if you have one kid, you can always maneuver and do your thing. And this is no offense to anybody who has more than one kid or wants a big family, but just know, the more kids that you have, the more vulnerable you are as a woman, because a guy can stick you with all these kids. You can have 4 kids and he could just leave, and then you're just stuck with it. You're stuck with this huge responsibility of raising all these kids, and then it's just like, it could be a nightmare. And it's crazy, because a lot of kids resent the parent that actually is staying there doing the best that they can. A lot of people resent their moms for trying to just keep their head above water, while the person who is supposed to be helping them with their kids is off doing whatever, and they're just doing the best that they can. And it's never perfect. I never look down on anybody who's a mom you're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable. Because you can get overwhelmed. You will get overwhelmed. You will have moments where it's too much. It will happen. But I don't know. I think that's why I just sometimes I look at my own mom and I'm just like in amazement, because she had 3 kids and she could have benefited by having a lot more support than she had. Luckily, she still has some support, but it's a big job. It's a big job. And I know that she's been a wonderful mom to me. We had our times where we didn't necessarily get along when I was like a teenager, but I'm grateful for my mom. My mom has done so much for me. She is really a rock, and sometimes I just still look at her with amazement at all that she's been able to do, even with all of the things that have been on her plate. So shout out to all the moms out there. If you're a mom, if you're a single mom, if you're a single mom who's married because your husband doesn't help you, shout out to you. You're amazing, and guess what? You're doing a great job. I want you to know that. I want you to know that no matter what mistakes you have, no matter what kind of guilt you might have sometimes about whatever it is that's on your mind, maybe you feel like you can't do as much as you would want to because you don't have the support. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job, sweetie. Okay? So I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, stay patient, stay cute. Oh, let's do this affirmation. I'm loving my outfit. Do you guys like this? Remember I showed you guys this from my thrift haul? I don't know. I think this shirt is so freaking cute. Oh, okay. Compliment yourself. Affirmation. I deserve to feel good about myself. Reminder. It begins with me. I need to love myself before I expect others to. Practice. Go to the nearest mirror and give yourself at least 3 compliments. Tip. They do not all need to be physical attributes. Do this for yourself. You're doing amazing. I think this was the perfect card to end off with. All right. See ya.